Thank you for your warm welcome. Thank you. I am greatly honored to have been invited by Principia College as a featured speaker in this annual and prestigious International Perspective Conference. I'm indeed humbled and honored to speak in a forum that some of the great personalities of this world have spoken in before. My sincere gratitude goes out to Marie and Noah, whom I have been in constant touch with, the conference board, the college's administration, and the entire student fraternity. It is a great privilege for me to speak to you today about how we can connect through change. Now, before I get into today's subject, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Samuel Aloyo. Together with Mrs. Corinne Colvin, I am a co-founder and an administrator at Sunrise of Africa School, which is located in an area called Kitengela on the outskirts of Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. Sunrise of Africa is a primary school for preschool kindergarten children to grade 8 pupils. We have more than 350 children at the school who are all receiving an excellent education based on Christian Science, principles, and values. Through the help of well-wishers, supporters, and generous donors from the global community, we have been able to give scholarships to many needy children who would otherwise be unable to receive such a good education. We are so grateful to each and every one of our representatives, ambassadors, donors, and friends. Now, getting to the topic of my speech, the theme of this year's conference, Connecting Through Change, is a very exciting one for me. It is exciting for me because of many reasons. The first and foremost is because I have seen firsthand how connection to each other can change our lives, both as individuals and as communities. I have seen this through the generous contributions that our school has received from donors, contributions that have greatly assisted children from humble backgrounds to get the much needed quality education. Secondly, I have seen how important it is to stay connected as we go through change, both as nations and individually. As you know, the change brought about by globalization is far-reaching, and we are all part and parcel of it, either as agents of change or as subjects of change. This realization has made the United Nations, together with its other partners, to come up with the Youth Connect Africa, a platform designed to connect the youth for socio-economic transformation, whose launch was Wednesday 9th October 2019 in Kigali, Rwanda. Indeed, this conference couldn't come at a better time as it coincides with this important African event. And third, I have also been involved as an administrator in education, in fostering connections through learning and by providing platforms for our students to connect to others through various channels. So, the subject of connection through change is close to my heart. Indeed, it is because of our connection to Principia College and the abiding and cordial relationship that Principia College has had with our school over the years, that I got this great opportunity to speak to you, ladies and gentlemen. The title of my speech is How We Can Unify Humanity Through Global Citizenship and Embracing Cultural Diversity. I would like to break this topic into three parts. In the first part, I will acknowledge the change taking part all around us, both the good sides of this change and the challenges it brings with it. After noting this change and its pace, I will propose how we can use global citizenship and cultural diversity to unify humanity and stay connected through the changes taking place on our planet. Please allow me to begin by speaking about global change, describing what it is, its agents, how we measure it, and how it manifests itself. Global change covers many areas: changes in population, climate, the global economy, resource use, energy development, transport, communication, land use, land cover, urbanization, globalization, atmospheric circulation, ocean circulation, sea ice loss, sea level rise, food webs, biological diversity, pollution, health, overfishing, and many more. All these are changes taking place every second. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, a child is being born. A website is being published. A book is being shipped. Someone is migrating to a different country. A tree is being planted, and polar ice is melting. But how did we arrive here? How did we arrive at this situation characterized by rapid growth and ubiquitous change? To trace the origin of the changes taking place globally, we need to appreciate a little bit of history. As mankind moved from Stone Age to Bronze Age, through agrarian revolution, industrial revolution, and now information age, he was able to travel further and connect better with people around the globe. This brought about spread of civilization and globalization. Now we may ask, what is globalization? As we all know, globalization is the process of integration of nations through the spread of ideas and sharing of technological advances through international trade, through the movement of labor and capital across international boundaries. It is a process that has been going almost throughout recorded history, and that has conferred huge benefits. After the Second World War, globalization received a boost from the dramatic lowering of trade barriers among major industrialized nations. Over the last 50 years, the process of integration has accelerated among the industrialized nations and also started to embrace many nations in the developing world. Globalization involves change, so it is often feared, even by those who end up gaining from it. And it must be acknowledged that some do lose in the short run when things change. But globalization is like breathing. It is not a process one can or should try to stop. What we can do is manage its harmful effects while leveraging on its benefits. How fast exactly is the world changing? Ladies and gentlemen, the world population was 1.78 billion in 1910 and 6.90 billion in 2010. This represents a 100-year growth rate of 387%, meaning that the population has almost quadrupled in a century. Please take a moment to appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen. 50 years ago, life in much of the developing world was pretty much what it used to be in the rich nations a couple of centuries ago. Nasty, brutish, and short. But today, Life expectancy in the developing world averages 65 years, up from under 40 years in 1950. Life expectancy was increasing even in sub-Saharan Africa until the effects of years of regional conflicts and, worldly speaking, epidemics reversed the trend. The gap between life expectancy between the developed and developing world has narrowed from a gap of 30 years in 1950 to approximately only about 10 years today. This change has brought about in large part due to globalization. Please allow me to cite another statistic to help us appreciate just how fast the world is changing. In 1980, world GDP was 27.95 trillion. This grew to 76.68 trillion by 2016. This represents a growth rate of 274%, meaning that GDP adjusted for inflation almost tripled in the span of 36 years. The world GDP tripled in 36 years, ladies and gentlemen. This rapid change, this kind of growth and its speed brings with it both opportunities and challenges. These opportunities and challenges also come at a very fast rate. Why has global growth been faster? Growth and globalization have gone hand in hand. Access to a vibrant international market has greatly facilitated fast growth. It has permitted a degree of reliance on comparative advantage and division of labor that was not possible in the 19th century. Not only has there been rapid growth in world trade, but it has taken place in an environment where the support facilities like transport and communication are readily and fairly available from other trading nations. Ladies and gentlemen, we have witnessed the growth of terrorism and how it has affected demographics and travel, especially since September 11. We have also seen the advent of self-driving cars, global warming, and other global changes. As the world changes, the way we do things is also changing. The way we talk is changing. The way we connect also changes. In Africa, smoke signals and drum beats were used to send messages. Messengers would also blow horns to communicate certain messages. In Europe, carrier pigeons were used to carry messages, news between cities. We later had the telegraph and Morse code, then followed the telephone, and the Cold War gave birth to the internet. The reason I am able to speak to you thousands of miles away from my present location, despite my visa to come and join you being delayed, is because of a product of technological change, YouTube. Isn't it wonderful that we can still break travel barriers and still come together and connect despite the restrictions? I believe this is a perfect example of what this conference is all about. The pupils at Sunrise of Africa School are able to Skype with their counterparts at the branch school in Houston, Texas, Hunting Tower and Sheldon College in Australia, and Claremont in the UK. It's also made it possible for Michael Morgan, one of your alumnus, to teach Sunday school to pupils in Africa at the comfort of his home in Los Angeles, California. Immediately, we can see that the technological change brought advantages with it. We can travel faster, save more data, and communicate more through channels that we ever could 30 years ago. As noted earlier, the change has also brought some challenges with it, ladies and gentlemen. The exponential increase in population has placed immense pressure on resources, leading to wars. Some of the technologies, like reliance on fossil fuel and the use of plastics, have destroyed our environment. Challenges like global warming, terrorism, extreme poverty have come hand in hand with global change. These challenges threaten to tear us apart. Some of these challenges threaten the very existence of the human race. We have witnessed job cuts instigated by technological advances. In my country, Kenya, post offices are no longer functional. Mobile money has revolutionized how we transact, send money, and banks have, in the process, downsized. On the positive, the unbanked are now able to bank, sending messages in real time, and money can be moved instantly across towns and oceans conveniently. How do we deal with these challenges? Who is going to address these challenges? And how do we stay connected as we navigate through these changes? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to suggest two approaches that can help us stay connected as we address the challenges brought about by the changes in our world. The first approach, which will help us stay connected, ladies and gentlemen, is by becoming global citizens. Who is a global citizen? A global citizen is someone who identifies themselves first and foremost as a member of the human race. They do not identify themselves by their nation, by their race, gender, or by their tribe. A global citizen is able to focus on and be concerned about the plight of people they will never meet, people outside their community. They are persons that commit themselves to solve the world's greatest problems, while identifying themselves as responsible for that and believing that the future of the world depends on their own action. It means individual persons, regardless of gender, religion, border, coming together to do what is important for them and for society and for the whole world. As global citizens, we shall look at the global challenges like climate change, ending extreme poverty, gender inequality, environmental pollution, incurable diseases, you name it. And we shall pick one and commit ourselves to making an impact towards addressing it. But you may ask yourselves, how can we, mere students, address global problems? We do not have the political muscle or military might to bring about these changes. And that would be a good question, and those are legitimate concerns. The good news is that there is an answer and there is a way as long as we are willing. The way we can influence change is through small acts. Change starts with a small decision, a small act. It starts with an act as small as stopping the use of plastic to store your food. It starts with talking about the global issues. It starts by doing small acts like volunteering to educate little children in our poor countries. Like some of your alumnus who've left their footprints in our school. For example, the mural behind me was graciously done by Marie. The celebrated Kenyan environmental activist and Nobel Prize winner, Professor Wangari Maathai, understood that we are constantly being bombarded by problems we face, global problems particularly. She understood that in the face of these global problems, it is easy to become overwhelmed. She told a story about a hummingbird that may help us appreciate the importance of our small acts as global citizens. The story goes as follows. One day, a raging fire was burning in the jungle. It was such an overwhelming disaster that all of the animals were helplessly watching the conflagration in shock. A hummingbird said, "I'm going to do something about the fire." It flew to the nearest stream and took a drop of water. It raced back to the fire where it dropped the water into the flames. Back and forth it went, over and over, while the larger animals, like the elephant, whose trunk could deliver more water, stood watching. Eventually, the animals asked the hummingbird, "What do you think you can do? You are too little." Without pausing, the hummingbird answered, "I am doing the best that I can." Wangari Maathai drew strength from this story and said, "I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching the planets go down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can." Ladies and gentlemen, you are the change that the world needs to move to the next level. Work on what you can do. Give your time, give your heart, your touch. Change making belongs to all of us. Start by doing what you can, with what you have. In your own way, let us be like the hummingbird. You do not have to be nominated to a political office or to become an elected leader before you can commit yourself to a cause. Nobody nominated Martin Luther King to his purpose. Mother Teresa and Malala did not have an army. Malala, Mother Teresa, and Martin Luther identified their purpose and committed themselves to them. They tracked their path and left a trail, and they changed thousands of lives. You cannot do everything, but we can all do something. Give what you can give. If you have no money but have some time, give your time. Start discussing the issues. If you feel that there is no peace in the world, be the agent of peace. How do you show up every day? Do you show up with love? If there are people in your community that are suffering, do you show up with love for them? What small acts that you can do? Even talking to them can make a difference. Start with one small act. A smile, picking litter off the street, donating something you don't need to the homeless and needy, a conversation with a stranger. These are small things that change the world. As Cleo Wade, the American artist, poet, activist, and author said, and I quote, "Our righteous acts create immeasurable ripples in the endless river of justice." Through talking about global issues, we can rally together and influence global leaders to bring change and shape the ideas that will yield the desired change. We must recognize that we have limitless potential and that we can bring whatever change we would like to bring in the world. We all might be aware that there's an event that's going to happen this Saturday, 12th of October 2019, the Ineos 159 Challenge. Eliud Kipchoge, the world marathon record holder, will be attempting to run the full marathon in under 2 hours, a feat no one has ever done before. The organizers state that the sub 2-hour marathon remains one of the last barriers in sport. Kipchoge's achievement would represent a next step to make history, leave a legacy, and show that no human is limited. Kipchoge himself asserts that it is not about a world record. It is about passing the message of inspiration to the whole human family. I am already the world record holder for marathon, but I need to do this for the human family. And lastly, Professor Ross Tucker, professor of exercise and physiology, says it won't matter in people's mind that the bar was set in a different ecosystem. The fact that a human body will cross that line under 2 hours will forever stick in the minds of people who have struggled with barriers. I stand with Eliud Kipchoge because no human is limited and should feel so. Same applies to all of you in the audience. Yes, we can, and indeed he can. Ladies and gentlemen, let us educate ourselves and others to become global citizens. This particular point is very close to my heart as an educator. Our world is threatened by terrorism and hate, but education can make us live together in peace. Education fosters global citizenship. Through education, we understand the connections between the local and the global. Through education, we illuminate the mind and rid it of bigotry, ignorance, and unlock the limitless potential that is in all of us. Let us promote not only education, but also education that makes us global citizens, concerned about not just ourselves, but about the plight of all humans. Education is the means through which our efforts will be sustained. As Wangari Maathai said, you can't do it alone. It's a teamwork. When you do it alone, you run the risk that when you are no longer there, nobody else will do it. The great icon, Nelson Mandela, recognized that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So as we engage in our global duties, let us build teams and networks that create a global ecosystem. Share experience and knowledge, partnering with like-minded, and inspire others to work with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to suggest that we unify humanity by celebrating diversity. Culture is both a unifying force, but it can also separate. We all come from somewhere. We may have a certain skin color, embrace certain beliefs, belong to different gender, and embrace certain lifestyles and different ways of thinking or doing things. Cultural diversity is a driving force of development, not only with respect to economic growth, but also as a means of leading a more fulfilling intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual life. Indeed, cultural diversity plays a key role in development as it brings many economic, and social benefits to society. In 2001, UNESCO adopted the Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity, and in December 2002, the UN General Assembly, in its resolution 57/249, declared May 21st to be the World Day for Cultural Diversity, for Dialogue and Development. These actions highlight the importance of cultural diversity as a tool for economic development. A key enabler for embracing cultural diversity is cultural intelligence. We must nurture cultural intelligence, which will enable us realize that we can't always think or reason the same way about issues like others, but at the same time make us see ourselves in others. All issues, even the divisive issues, are connected because we are connected. Cultural intelligence will help us realize that my justice is your justice. At the end of the day, we must realize that we are connected and made from the same human fabric, with the same human needs for love, for acceptance, for dignity, and for peace. Cultural intelligence will enable us understand our own cultures within our cultures. Cultural diversity widens the range of options open to everyone. It is one of the roots of development, understood not simply in terms of economic growth, but also as a means to achieve a more satisfactory intellectual, emotional, moral, and spiritual existence. Indeed, the French writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry captured this idea very well when he said, and I quote, "He who is different from me does not impoverish me. He enriches me." Our unity is constituted in something higher than ourselves, in man, for no man seeks to hear his own echo or to find his reflection in the glass, end of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, bridging the gap between cultures is urgent and necessary for peace, stability, and development. As I conclude, let us note that other than the obvious benefits of globalization like technological change and the challenges like climate change, there have also been benefits of globalization that have emerged alongside the challenges. The evidence suggests that the world inequality is declining. The phenomenal growth of China and India has contributed to this because the majority of the poor reside in these two countries. Their growth helps to reduce inequality of world incomes, even though many smaller countries have had stagnant incomes. But this growth was possible because of global integration. When we stay connected, we lift each other up. Let us stay connected. Let us tackle global issues as global citizens by embracing diversity. Thank you so much for listening to me, and may God bless you all.